have been mistaken to be Fuji, which is a part of Japanese culture and traditions, but we are actually Fiji. In the South Pacific region, 3 hours from Sydney and 2.5 hours from New Zealand, 8 hours from Jakarta or Singapore. Thank you. So very briefly, next slide. Next one. So Fiji and the world. This slide, the arrows are showing the common or major markets of Fiji. That is Australia, New Zealand, Canada, United States, and Asia, China and Japan. These, I hope you can see where Fiji is in the blue parachute shape. That is where Fiji is, sandwiched by these islands, these major markets. For those of you who are potential investors and who will go into business, I am selling Fiji as a potential regional hub that enables you to access all these key markets, especially Australia and New Zealand. This also shows how vulnerable we are in terms of the shutdown and the lockdown that has economically affected us significantly, because we are a tourism dependent state with 40% of our GDP being contributed directly from tourism, and an additional 10 or 20 tourism related sectors that are part of Fiji's economy. But the shutdown and the lockdown has crippled our economy, resulting in the unemployment of around 100,000 people, according to World Bank and IMF. So in the next slide, you will see the demographic of Fiji. That's the population, around 900,000 people. That's the labor force. And I just said that around 100,000 people have been affected from the current lockdown. That's as of April, but I believe now it has probably moved to 150,000, given the longevity of the shutdown. The population under 25 years of age is around 46%. We have a very strongly educated population, English-speaking population of 93.7%. And these are the demographics that will help you understand what Fiji is made up of. In the next slide, between Fiji and Indonesia, there's not much, which is why I'm really wanting to encourage those of you who are from the business community, young entrepreneurs who are considering to go into business, and future potential businesses who are here. I strongly encourage you to consider Fiji as not only a market in itself, but also a hub that you can establish yourselves in, and then you reach out the major markets, including the 3 billion to 5 billion Pacific market, which is made up of 16 sovereign states. Our next slide is, again, the justification of why you need to come to Fiji. Because of these reasons, the slides will be shared with everyone that's listening in, so that you can look through the reasons why you should come to Fiji or consider Fiji as your business location. The next slide is really to do with our bilateral relations. So far, we have a very healthy relationship between our two countries, the Republic of Indonesia and the Republic of Fiji. The bilateral cooperation is valued around 15 million USD over the past 10 years. Our regional collaboration is very effective and very strong as well. On those platforms, the Archipelagic Island States Forum Secretariat, the Indonesia South Pacific Forum, the MSG, as well as PIDF. These are where we support each other on regional and also on international forums. And also on international support at the UN and other forums, our relationship and our exchanges continue to be strong and also to be very fruitful between our two countries. So COVID-19 was first recorded in Fiji on the 19th of March. That was the first case that was recorded. But before that, from the 3rd of February to the 27th of February, or the whole month of February, the government of Fiji had taken some very strong positions in proactively trying to manage or block the entrance of COVID-19 into our shores. So from 3rd of February, the government had tightened or toughened the border control, trying to manage that. And also on 27th February, as the cases all over the world began to increase, specifically in Italy, China, Iran, South Korea, and US, the government of Fiji began shutting down visitors from these countries. After the announcement of the first case, travelers from US, UK, and Europe were also not allowed to Fiji. All schools were closed and shut down of all non-essential services. What I'm trying to present here is, ladies and gentlemen, this is the strength in the decision-making process that has enabled the Fiji government to control or to be able to fend off the huge volume of cases that might have increased in Fiji's context. We are a very small country. Also, we face challenges in our public healthcare systems, and therefore, these were the proactive decision-making processes that was done by the government to ensure that we were not going to be significantly affected by the COVID-19 outbreak. So as of 21st March, the second case was identified. 23rd March, the third case was identified. And the next slide also shows, as of 24th March, other cases that were coming in, and also the decisions that were made, including the implementation or the imposing of a curfew from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. From the 25th of March. These are some of the decisions that I would like to highlight was really made by the Fijian government to make sure that we were able to contain the spread of the virus. As of April, the whole month of April, 9 more cases were recorded and a total of 18 cases by the end of April. Throughout May and June, the 18 cases were completely recovered. The Ministry of Health in Fiji recorded or reported that 100% of those 18 cases had successfully recovered from the initial efforts by the Fijian government to make sure that these cases were treated appropriately, and also the shutdown that also enabled the securing of our borders provincially and also district-wise internally within Fiji. But by July, towards the end of July, we had 10 new cases coming in, and the first death in Fiji's context was recorded on the 31st of July, and also as 27th of August, we had the second death recorded from COVID-19. But compared to a population of close to 1 million, and also given the other challenges that we were facing, I think we still had done very well in terms of our ability to try and control or to at least manage the impact of COVID-19, let alone the spread of it throughout Fiji. So in the next slide, this was also shared in our last session. These are some of the initial responses, including our status as of now. We are a COVID-19 contained state. Our responses includes travel restrictions, curfew imposed, schools closed, as I've explained further on earlier on. The economic recovery efforts as well was triggered and put in place to try and help the economy, because the shutdown as part of our response had a negative economic impact in terms of our overdependence on tourism being 40% of our GDP. But then we were beginning to look forward to the reset because of the changes that has been employed, and now what were the opportunities or the options or the alternatives to the structures pre-COVID-19 period. So we had, the Fijian government had started looking at some innovative approaches, the use of digital platforms, the investment as well in some tourism and travel activities, including SMEs and primary industry, all in the effort of trying to respond economically to the impact of COVID-19. Our next slide just summarizes as well some of our early recovery efforts, the efforts to prop up the economic and social structures in Fiji. So you can see that Indonesia also gave a value of 200,000 US, Japan, Australia, and other countries, also including other regional institutions. ADB gave a loan of US 200 million, and other regional and international organizations, including the Fijian government's stimulus package of 1 billion Fijian dollar that was injected into the economy to try and prop it up. So those were some of the initial and immediate responses to how Fiji was going to uphold its economy. But the acid test remains, not only for Fiji, but also for other Pacific Island countries and the whole world, is the longevity of the COVID-19 shutdown. How long will it take for the COVID-19 to be around us? And also, how long will it take for our governments and our economies to begin to open up? And what are the protocols that will be introduced in place to make sure that the economy is opened up, but at the same time, there are safe practices in place to try and help the interactions in an effort to kickstart our economic activities. So the next slide also is really the prioritizing of economic recovery by the Fijian government, just summarizing again what has been mentioned earlier on, and this was also shared in our previous session. But these are fiscal and also monetary and macro financial policies, including support from bilateral partners. I've highlighted multilateral avenues to be part of our discussion in this session, in the future slides that are ahead of us, highlighting the importance as well of multilateralism and also the existence of these forums that we are part of, both Fiji and Indonesia. Because as the video slide and my short introduction or explanation of why I brought in that video is that there are existing programs that are in place by these regional institutions, and there are existing challenges that are being currently that the governments are trying to address, and as far as climate change is concerned. But at the same time, while all this attention is being given to the impact of climate change, to the developments around climate mitigation and adaptation, and all other things that are related to climate change, lo and behold, the economic impact of it is similar and also is experienced by both our countries. And to a certain degree, it also links significantly to the impact of COVID-19. In other words, COVID-19 is a new problem that we are going to manage, but at the same time, trying to link it, the impact of the lockdown, the economic impact of it, and also the importance of making sure that our public healthcare systems are strong, are robust, and are able to appropriately respond to the demands of our public, and also the policies that are there that should be flexible or responsive to the additional challenge, which is the economic impact of COVID-19. Building back greener and bluer, responding appropriately with sustainability in mind. This is something not only Fiji, but the other Pacific Island countries, because we are small island developing states and we are archipelagos like Indonesia. These are some of the themes that we are beginning to dominate our public forums and also the public narratives in efforts to try and respond appropriately to the impact of COVID-19. That is both healthcare and also economic. So green and equitable recovery, this is something that has developed quite significantly and positively. The political framing of major public investment shifting towards a more environmentally friendly approach, which brings in the theory of merging these two spheres and these two realms of conversation, which is the climate change, existing challenges that we are trying to address as sovereign states, but at the same time, how we bring in COVID-19, the economic and socio-economic impact of COVID-19 into the whole conversation of existing instruments, existing policies, and existing frameworks, including the themes that are being focused, or the theme that these regional institutions are focused on, and how we can collectively build a constructive and forward-looking and progressive set of policies, approaches, and collaboration to make sure that we are including the economic impact of COVID-19 in this effort of trying to secure a solution, be it digital platforms, be it policy, be it other responsive efforts, but it has to be inclusive, which is what has dominated the public sphere of conversation, not only in Fiji, but also in the Pacific Island countries, supported by the narratives of UNDP, as highlighted also in the video. We have a theme of Build Back Bluer within the Fijian government. This is the framework that tries to encourage a waste management and also ocean resource management, because we are big ocean states, so to speak. We have a huge area of oceans that we are managing. And as we all know, that oceans, they are quite significant in terms of the economic activities that can earn significant amount of dollars from our ocean resources. So in this lockdown and in this shutdown period, there are efforts to build back bluer. In other words, the existing structures pre-COVID-19 has currently worn down or has reduced in capacity, probably 50%, probably 80%, depending on the sector that you are looking at, depending on the area that you are looking at. But the truth or the fact remains that the shutdown has slowed down the activities within these sectors. And that arguably has given us an opportunity, has given us the platform to look at the ways of restructuring and reshaping so that we can build back bluer and bring in the importance of these themes like resource management, oceans, the health of oceans, climate change adaptation, resilience, and the importance of human resources being amplified during this period. The pre-COVID-19 structures, as you all know, had its own culture of work, had its own systems, and had its own responsiveness, and also the things that were being fed into those systems. And now, during this shutdown, we don't know, as we look forward to a post-COVID-19 world, we do not know the structures that would come. But we have the opportunity now to reshape what was existing before, to include all these things so that we hopefully can produce a robust and inclusive post-COVID-19 structures so that our resources can be well managed and also our solutions can be effective in terms of managing the impact, the economic impact of COVID-19, and also the phases of recovery, be it a quick recovery, depending on which economy we are looking at, or a phased out recovery in terms of getting back into business as usual. And then we have the circular economy, which is an important theme as well, because this also addresses the importance of the pre-COVID-19 structures, which I was referring to, which is really based on three phases. 1, extraction; 2, consumption; and 3, disposal. But when we bring in the theme or the argument of circular economy, it really brings to the forefront a completely different level of conversation, which is inclusive of how we manage waste. And also, managing waste means the possibility of reusing some of those waste so that it can be maximized. Rather than just dropping off the waste, we are looking at how we can reuse those waste. For example, how can plastics be reused? These are some of the questions that are coming up in our conversation as we look at circular economy, because of the argument that we need to reinvent the linear global supply chains. And with that comes the importance of the theme of circularity, which equates to zero waste, which equates to resource efficiency. In other words, nothing gets wasted. What is considered waste here can be repackaged and can be looked at through R&D as well, research and development, or through innovative approaches. Waste in this particular sector can be reused as raw materials in a different sector. So in other words, we are trying to maximize and minimize the waste, but maximize the resources that we have to be fully exhausted with very minimal, manageable, and controllable waste outputs. And then we have the importance of feedback loop, which is very important in terms of what investors, practitioners, and beneficiaries are looking at. They are really prioritizing the importance of the capacity to consistently measure with standards to better judge the effectiveness and impact of an investment or concept, so that the information can get back to the initiators and also the practitioners and also the investors or the financiers who are looking at a particular concept, so that they know, okay, this concept, this idea is working, it is environmentally friendly, and more importantly, it benefits the human resources of a country. So this is really the argument of building back greener and bluer in Fiji's context, and also in the global context. So the next slide is really on the impact of climate change, innovative financing and programs. Again, I want to emphasize the importance of existing programs in the space of climate change, climate adaptation, and mitigation, linking it to the economic impact of the current shutdown, and trying to include the narrative of economic recovery during this COVID-19 period, and also in anticipation of a post-COVID-19 world. So these are some of the themes, the four main themes: building resilience. Financing is important. And you will see the list of some of the instruments or institutions that are in place to provide financing. Fiji had secured 50 million from the International Finance Corporation to do with climate change, but at the same time, also looking at the economic impact of COVID-19 and taking those funds to make sure that the relevant policies are in place, as well as the investment is strategically done in Fiji's context to make sure that the final beneficiaries, which are the people or the population, get the full benefit of that funding. So these are existing spaces. They have their requirements, and then Fiji and other Pacific Island countries are also trying to meet the requirements so that they can also use these existing instruments to help in the economic recovery, which is our main theme. How do we ensure that our economies recover and we avoid a complete collapse of our economy, which will have some repercussions in terms of its social implications in our communities. Data and technology is very, very important. And also, this is where the satellite technology comes in, which also our natural resources and the health of our natural resources. So this is another important theme that will help policymakers, that will help government, and also that will help us secure the funding, and also making sure that our resources are managed well and improving its resilience to natural disasters. and most importantly, food and water security at the end of the day. Mitigation and adaptation, again, this is an important theme, linking quite strongly not only to the climate change theme, but also this is where we need to be creative in terms of trying to link the two spheres of conversation, bringing in the impact of COVID-19. And of course, the challenges which is faced a lot by developing island states like Fiji. And this is to do with how well we can respond to the requirements of international funding mechanisms to be able to ensure that we are receiving these funds to help us economically and also socially. Digital divide is another issue. For Pacific Island countries like Fiji, there are challenges in terms of the digital platform and also the capacity, including the expertise that may be sourced from IMF or ADB or any other regional institutions, while we are still trying to develop the capacity internally. So the next slide, which is I'm almost, is really to do with big ocean states like Fiji. I did mention earlier on how important it is for us because of the health of our oceans, which is a significant. As we can see, the oceans-based blue economy ends about 3 to 6 trillion US dollars, and it helps around 1 billion people. That is expected to shrink during this outbreak. The next theme is the importance of safeguarding ocean resources. As we've talked about, ocean innovation also links into that theme, and virtual reality tours. This is something that links to the digital platforms of solutions where where Fiji's tourism sector is anticipating the economy, and now through WhatsApp, through Instagram, through Facebook and other social media platforms, trying to take a tour, trying to introduce these virtual reality tours as well,